I did a live earlier to talk about Alex Preddy's murder and how we're all processing it today, and also to stream my Congresswoman Maxine Dexter's Instagram live and discuss it. I ended up actually not streaming that much of what she had to say. I did a little bit on and off, but I was more interested in engaging with the comments that people were leaving in my lives. I was doing TikTok live on my phone and the first ever YouTube live I've ever done on my laptop at the same time. And that was a mess, trying to read all of the comments and not have moderators. I was not able to keep up. Also, just like weird side note, I had between 37 and 75 people on my TikTok live. I had 16,500 people on my YouTube live. So that just tells you like the difference in reach and the difference in these platforms. I think 16,500 people for the first live I've ever done, and folks letting me stumble through that was not too shabby. So thank you. But anyway, maybe this does actually tie into what my Congresswoman was saying in her live. So people in my comments were saying that they were done with Democrats. I'm fucking done with Democrats because 7 Democrats voted to forward this spending package earlier this week that is going to continue to give this bump to ICE and DHS. And keep in mind, it did also include FEMA funding and anyway. Okay, so lots of frustration. We're all frustrated. I'm deeply frustrated. You're not going to hear me being a shill for the DNC or the DCCC or Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries. I've been screaming for Chuck Schumer to be removed from leadership since March of last year. I'll keep beating that drum. Still think that's worthwhile. But I disagree that we should be mad at all Democrats because we've seen a number of Democrats consistently doing the right thing. We would be wrong to believe that the Democrats are a united party. I think that there exist at least 2 parties within them. There's multiple caucuses, multiple factions, but there are a handful of Democrats who understand the urgency of the moment, who understand the severity of the situation and have been pushing to act for a long time, saying the right things for a long time. I do think my Congresswoman, I was trying be honest, I did not vote for Maxine in the primary, but when Sushila Jayapal lost the primary, I did vote for Maxine in the general election. And in general, I believe she earnestly cares about what's happening in Oregon. I don't agree with her on everything. I've pushed really hard against her position on Gaza until she finally did decide to say that what's happening in Gaza is a genocide. But in general, she's been a little too timid for me. And yet I've watched her grow in strength and tenacity and be more outspoken as the year has progressed. She did say in her last town hall that we all have to turn to civil disobedience now, which I thought was a huge, huge leap in what she was saying. So I'm not going to abandon her at the moment. I am looking at some of the other people who are running against her in the primary, in particular Jess Salas, who's running against her. But Maxine is one of the co-sponsors for the articles of impeachment against Kristi Noem. Maxine has been on the right side of an awful lot of bills, and she sees her role as not only advocating for Oregonians, but continuing to have conversations with Republicans across the aisle. And I get frustrated because she says, my colleagues, my friends across the aisle. And I'm like, your friends are fucking fascists. But I understand the utility of her position. She's like, what else can we do? It's Republicans in Congress. This gets me back to this comment from everybody else, not everybody else, a few people who were like, I'm really mad at Democrats and I'm giving up on all Democrats. Maxine is not wrong. It's Republicans in Congress who have the majority in both houses. They're the ones who have the power. They're the ones who could stop this. And I think it is worth her having those conversations. I'm not sure that I could. You could not get me to have a conversation with, James Comer. Lauren Boebert. There's no fucking way I'm having a conversation with those people. It would not end well for me. But people like Maxine are going to de-escalate. They're going to have those conversations. They're going to continue to chip away. So much of the defense against fascism is about eroding those pillars of support, and erosion is something that happens slowly. We're not blowing up the pillars of support. We're chiseling away at them. It's the chisel. It's the dripping water on them until it slowly all erodes away. And that takes time. It takes persistence. And I appreciate that Maxine has that persistence. So I don't actually think that she's a problem. I don't actually think a lot of Democrats are a problem. And I was grateful to see that Chuck Schumer suddenly 180 flip, right? The political tide has turned. Alex was murdered in the street today. That's pretty clear to everybody. And in her live stream this evening, my Congresswoman seemed pretty freaked out about it. She seemed pretty freaked out. So I appreciate that Chuck Schumer is now saying Senate Democrats are united. They're not going to vote for any more funding for ICE at all. This has to be a line in the sand. And yet at the same time, understanding that what Maxine says about Republicans is true. And it's also what I think is true. We can get distracted by the fact that there are a handful here and there of Democrats who side with the Republicans every time. Why are we pissed at them? Because they're siding with Republicans, because Republicans are on the wrong side of history, because Republicans are voting for our oppression. Republicans are supporting everything that Donald Trump is doing. Pretty much across the board, except for Thomas Massie, who, again, he's pretty fringe. He's not voting against Donald Trump because he cares about democratic values. He's voting against Donald Trump because they are against his kind of libertarian isolationist values, right? He's voting his conscience. I will give him that every time. Thomas Massie, not afraid to stand up to Donald Trump. We need more Republicans who are true to their ideals and will not be cowards caving for Donald Trump when they know what they're doing is wrong. They know what they're doing is wrong. Lisa Murkowski said she knows it's wrong to vote for these things, but she does it anyway because she's scared. What about us? What about us? Alex was murdered in the street this morning. And in response, instead of cowering in their homes and running away and being fearful and giving up and rolling over, which is what Stephen Miller and Donald Trump want, instead, Minnesotans came out in greater numbers. They showed up in greater numbers, with greater courage, with greater strength, because now they know the risk is that much higher. And they said, it doesn't matter. This is the right thing to do. We have to do it. And so for the rest of us around the country who, for the moment, are under circumstances that are a little bit less dire than folks in Minnesota, what can we do? We can support organizations on the ground. I put out a video yesterday on my YouTube about Minnesota and the January 23rd general strike. If you go to the video description, I listed just like a shit ton of places that you can just dump money, help people in Minnesota. Second, the least we can fucking do is be hounding the shit out of our Republican electeds. They have all of the power. They can and should stop this. They have all of the power. Congress is the most powerful branch of government, and they are actively choosing to allow Donald Trump to do this. Not only have they funded it to the tune of tens of billions of dollars, they are in this moment choosing not to stop something that is fully within their power to grind to a fucking halt. I do not think that it is a wasted effort to be showing up at their office, pressuring your Republicans in Congress. Bring the fucking outrage. Let them know you're a super voter. You're going to be voting. You're going to get all your friends to vote. You don't give a shit how hard they are trying to gerrymander and suppress the vote. Everybody will be there. Republicans need to be more afraid of us than they are of Donald Trump. Republicans need to be more afraid of continuing to support ICE than they are of Donald Trump. And the way that we do that is mass mobilization. I know it can feel like if you have a Republican member of Congress, they don't care and they can't be moved. I promise you they care. They care about numbers, they care about feedback, they care about constituents who are mobilized and are willing to take action. It's our civic duty as American citizens. It is the least we can do in a representative democracy. Give feedback and push our representatives. I know it seems like they don't give a shit about us. I know it seems like Donald Trump and Stephen Miller have all the power, but that's not true. Power actually resides with the people. And I think everybody has kind of forgotten that, especially our elected officials, and we need to remind them. They only govern because they have our consent. They are only in Congress because we put them there, and we can put somebody else there. We have these little bits of power. We loan them to Congress. So does everybody else in our district. They are entrusted to govern on our behalf, to uphold the Constitution and their oath. They are betraying all of that. They are betraying us. They are not doing their job. So it is our civic duty to give them feedback. It is our civic responsibility to make sure that we are actively engaged in the process of democracy. We don't vote for somebody and let them go do whatever and we just forget. No, it's ongoing. It has to be a relationship. Even if they don't want to listen to us, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what your feelings are, Steve, whoever. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if they don't want to listen. They better fucking listen. They work for us. Now is the time. All the levers. If you can't spend 3 minutes a day inconveniencing yourself to call your elected officials, then we got bigger problems. It's a tiny, tiny sacrifice, and we've got to be doing every fucking day. Call these motherfuckers. Go see them. Go visit them. Do what it takes. There has to be mass public outrage because the center of all of this, the easiest way out of this is through Congress, is through the Republicans. So we need to start pressuring them. We need to start doing everything we can to pull that lever. The quickest way out of this, I'm telling you, is Republicans in Congress. So let's do what we got to do.